Hi everybody, I'm Alex Turner from thebusinessdesk.com, and I'll be taking you through the next 45 minutes as we look at the next Gen Disruptors and the session supported by Quba and Nexus at the University of Leeds. It's the question that everybody wants to know the answer to. Who are the disruptors of tomorrow? We'll look to provide some answers as we showcase 5 businesses who have found a niche and have the potential to be the exciting disruptors of the future. But first, we'll hear from Ajaz Ahmed, an entrepreneur who knows plenty about disruption. He was the co-founder of Freeserve, the UK's first billion-pound internet company. He is now the chairman of Quba, a Sheffield-based web technology agency, and he also sits on the governing council at the University of Huddersfield. Ajaz, delighted to have you with us today. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to speak here today. And I'd also like to thank the University of Huddersfield for lending me their facilities. It was either using my bedroom and my iPad or using the facilities that the University of Huddersfield got. So I chose the University of Huddersfield. So I'm going to talk a bit today about pioneers, what it takes to be a pioneer. It's a question that I get asked an awful lot, and there's certain short answers that can answer that question. So if you want to be a pioneer, the first thing you need is a good idea. And to have a good idea, you probably need to have had a eureka moment. A eureka moment is normally a reaction to an event. The event could be something that you've read in a newspaper or a magazine, something you've seen on the television. It may be somebody that you've spoken to or something you've seen in a shop. And anything can lead on to become a eureka moment. And in my case, when we founded Freeserve, it was simply, I was a manager in PC World in Leeds, and I'd heard about this thing called the internet, and I wanted to get on the internet. And funny enough, nobody in my shop, which is a computer business, could tell me how to get onto the internet. And that was my eureka moment. And I thought to myself, thousands of people up and down the country must be walking into our stores and asking the same question: how do you get onto the internet? And if we become an ISP, an internet service provider, then we'll be able to do something that no competitor can do, which is just simply hand out a CD because they're in our stores, we can pile them up, and also they've just bought the computer from us. So that was my eureka moment. And many people have had eureka moments all the time. But the thing is, it's no good just having a eureka moment. You've got to do something about it. And that's the hard part. Lots of people just think about it and don't do anything about their eureka moment. Now, if you've got a eureka moment and you choose to talk to people about it, the chances are that people are going to say, no, it's not a good idea. Now, why do people say no to good ideas? Well, the best way I can describe it is garlic bread. If you remember Peter Kay's famous garlic bread joke, where he says, boss, I've seen the future, I've tasted it, it's garlic bread. And his boss says, have I heard you right? Garlic bread with garlic on it? No, I'm not having that. And if you think about it, maybe 40, 50 years ago, someone in a bakery did go to their boss and ask them, should we be selling garlic bread? Because it would probably been on holiday in Italy or something like that. And they were turned down. And now everyone's eating garlic bread. And that's what it's about, really. It's about doing the obvious before it becomes obvious to everyone else. And garlic bread is a simple thing. It's obvious now, but at the time, it probably sounded stupid. Just like when you go to the supermarket and you see ice cubes for £1. How stupid does that sound? But it's now obvious everyone is buying ice cubes for £1, except me. So if you've got a good idea, if you've had a eureka moment, you've also got to be a bit naive, really. Because if we'd have known how big Freeserve was going to be, we probably would have done all sorts of things that would have caused all sorts of problems, and it would have delayed actually doing Freeserve. And if you look at history, you've got all sorts of examples of people being very naive. If you look at the founders of Google, they probably wouldn't have launched if they would have known how big Google was going to be. So you've got to be a bit like naive, really. And if someone's turned you down, what does that mean? Well, unfortunately, lots of people that I meet who've had good ideas who come and see me, they do something called confirmation bias. And that simply is where they start arguing to confirm the bias that they've got. Now, most of the ideas that I get to see are actually very poor ideas. And that's called ugly baby syndrome, where if you can imagine a couple have got a baby and they're in love with that baby because it's their baby. And you go along and look at that baby and think, shit, that's an ugly baby, isn't it? It's the same in business. They don't ask people who've got a vested interest in their idea. They ask their friends or their relatives, just like in the X Factor, but they don't ask people who have got no vested interest in that idea. So unfortunately, I have to turn around to people and say, no, it's not a good idea, just like Simon Cowell does on the X Factor. So, and then the other thing I get to see is people who call themselves entrepreneurs. Now, what's the difference between an entrepreneur and a business person? Well, there's three things really. An entrepreneur is someone who's got empathy with the customer. They can put themselves in the customer's position. They've also got more attention to detail, and they can imagine it before it actually happens. Whereas business people normally can't actually imagine it until it happens. And there's many, many examples of that. The other thing that people want to be pioneers have got to do is learn things like retail. Retailers have been through lots of pivots over the last few years, and they've changed enormously over the last year through COVID. But retailers are brilliant at actually getting their message across and changing their proposition as times get hard. Last night, for instance, I ordered one of the new Amazon Echoes, the Alexa. I didn't choose to pay the extra price for getting it delivered, on an express basis. So they told me that it was going to arrive on Friday. It actually arrived this morning, so they exceeded my expectations. So learn the art of retail and apply those retail principles if you are starting a business. Also learn the art of storytelling and also copywriting. All I've done so far is tell you a series of short stories, and you're more likely to remember that if you can tell stories through advertising or on your website. Also learn how to write. Many businesses simply can't get their message across on their website. They start talking about all sorts of things, but really you've got to understand how to get your message across. One of the things that's happened over the last year is people have started to learn virtually. It's not just for kids, it's not just for universities, but there's all sorts of things that people can do to actually learn about things through virtual learning. And it's a great equalizer. It also puts people on a platform that is regardless of geography or income or time constraints. So invest in yourself and learn about new skills that you previously didn't know about. Also, one of the things that we see is that people think that they're going to start a business and grow it organically. That simply doesn't work for a lot of people. So my company, Quba, we came up with an event platform before Eventbrite did. One of the mistakes that we made is we didn't go out there and look for financial backing. We just grew it organically, and it's doing quite well at the moment. But just imagine how big it could have been if we'd have gone out there and given up certain amount of equity, if we'd have gone out there to raise money for the business. Now, those are just some of the things that are going to make people a pioneer. At Quba, we're always open to listening to people with ideas. You can come to us and we might be able to help you or tell you if you've got a garlic bread syndrome or an ugly baby. Lots of people need someone to talk to, and if you're happy, we can listen to some of your ideas and tell you if they're good ideas or not. And finally, my 10 minutes are up now. I keep looking at my clock. Learn to listen to that little voice in your head. Learn to listen to the gut feeling that you've got, because it's no good in a few years' time thinking about something that you should have done when really All you had to do was do something about it. I've had many people in my time come up to me and tell me that I had that idea for Freeserve as well. Yeah, but the difference is you didn't do anything about it. So learn to listen to that little voice in your head, in your gut feeling, and do something about it. So enjoy the rest of the day. I'm looking forward to learning about the 5 businesses and the potential that they've got in the future. One of them certainly, I think, is going to be a very big business if they achieve their full potential. So thank you very much for listening, and enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ajaz. Fascinating as always. It'll be interesting to find out later which one of the 5 you have your eye on. Also,
yeah,
be
you can write to me, I'll tell you, no problem.
Yes. Also, be interesting which of these our audience think are the next garlic bread or potentially ugly babies. I think all 5 of the businesses we're about to showcase, that each have their own big ambitions, are potentially great businesses of the future. So if I could bring up first Nikhil Seghal, who's the co-founder and chief executive of Vastmindz. Vastmindz is an AI-powered health and wellness company. They use face tracking, signal analysis, and algorithms. Welcome, Nick. Do you just want to tell us?
Thank you very much, Alex.
No problem. Do you just want to tell us a little bit more about what Vastmindz do and what exactly face tracking and signal analysis is all about?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just to zoom out a little bit, what Vastmindz is all about, and it's a problem that I'm trying to solve, which is personal to me, is you reduce the risk of individuals suffering from severe cardiovascular diseases. That is one problem we're trying to solve. That problem alone is expected to cost $1 trillion to the global economy in the next 8 to 10 years. So it's not only a costly problem, but also 1 in 3 worldwide deaths are attributed to cardiovascular diseases. So everything we do at Vastmindz is allowing anyone to get insights into their cardiovascular physiology so that they can make decisions, and hopefully preventative decisions, in a very easy and accessible way. So that's just a short synopsis of what Vastmindz is, our mission and what we're trying to solve. What our technology is, it is a tool that requires no physical device, but a tool simply where you're able to look into a camera, and that camera is able to recognize your face. And not only that, our software is able to slightly illuminate blood vessels underneath the facial skin to extract various physiological signals. So we can get a lot of rich physiological information about anyone without any physical device, without an Apple Watch. You don't need an Apple Watch to do this. You could simply look into a smartphone camera and understand a lot of rich physiological information about you. So that's just a quick synopsis of facial tracking and signal analysis.
I mean, that seems to have huge applicability. What's your ambition for Vastmindz?
So I think one of the things we really want to do is help make health insurance more accessible. Now, unfortunately, some health insurance plans avoid people or avoid underwriting people if they have certain comorbidities, like a previous cardiovascular health issue. And that's because they don't have any connection with their policyholders to remotely understand their risk. So now, for the first time, for these individuals who would be considered high risk, we're allowing health insurers to remotely track their risk by understanding their physiology remotely, and help health insurers become slightly more inclusive. Ultimately, this benefits both parties. This is not a zero-sum game. It benefits both insurers because people are able to get a better insight into their physiology. They're able to take preventative action. And also insurers benefit because they actually, in effect, reduce their claims risk. So if people are getting healthy and less people are making claims, you have insurers which are financially benefiting, but you also have the policyholders which are benefiting from a health perspective. So it's not a zero-sum game; it's a two-way benefit, and that's why I like the industry.
Yeah. And your company is based in London, but is it accessing the Leeds innovation ecosystem? What is it that's drawn you to Leeds, and what's different about that?
Yeah, so we were involved in a few digital health accelerators. I mean, in fact, out of all the NHS trusts we've spoken to, Leeds was probably, and again, we haven't spoken to everyone, but from what we've seen, Leeds has been the most receptive to new innovations. And we all know of Leeds' plans to build the hospital of the future. So it looks like they're very receptive to adopting new technologies to improve patient outcomes. This is what we're trying to do, improve patient outcomes. So I was really drawn to Leeds. The traction we've got so far with Leeds is great. We have a number of studies ongoing, not only in looking at the adult population, but also pediatrics and potentially neonatals as well. So yeah, Leeds has been very, in my personal opinion, receptive to new innovation in the healthcare space.
Great. And what's next for Vastmindz? What's the next milestone or target that you've got your eyes set on?
Yeah, I mean, we're really looking to aggressively expand. Like Ajaz said, I mean, you could either grow organically, or you could either raise some money and put your word out there a bit more aggressively and try and grow as fast as possible. So we've recently started raising some capital. But actually, one of our most recent investors is Steve Wozniak, who is the co-founder of Apple. And what we're trying to do is really help expand ourselves into the health insurance fields, the telehealth field, any way that we can improve health outcomes virtually. Of course, everyone's now accustomed to doing things from home. So I'm able to now have a call with my doctor from home, and that's normal. I'm able to do lots of things from home. And now we're just adding the ability to remotely track your physiology from home. Again, without the need for any external physical device. So our real goal is to enhance the virtual delivery of care and improve patient outcomes, and ultimately reduce the risks of people suffering from one of the most, I guess, well-known killers of our time, which is cardiovascular disease.
Well, Joey, at the start of today, Jürgen Mayer talked about disruption, but responsible disruption, and I think what you're doing, it fits in wonderfully with that, about using technology for a really important mission. So looking forward to following your story in the years ahead, and good luck with everything you're trying to achieve, Nick.
Absolutely, Alex. It's a pleasure being here.
Great. Thank you. And next up is Cameron Lee, who's our head of strategy at Total Processing. So Total Processing are a fintech business that provides payment services for online transactions. Afternoon, Cam.
Hi, Alex.
Hi. Now, certainly in my house, it seems like the last 18 months has been dominated by online payments. But just tell us where exactly you fit into the payment system, and what need are you answering?
Sure. So we're a payment software business, but in essence, we essentially power the checkouts for over 5,000 e-commerce businesses across the globe. That ranges from startups through to multi-billion-dollar retailers. So where we fit in, we're a single integration that allows our customers to access over 190 different payment methods. So that's traditional debits and credit cards through to fancier things like Klarna and even Bitcoin. Over the last 4 years, we've gone from 0 people to about 70, and that's out of our headquarters in Manchester.
And when we first spoke last year, I think you just raised about £5 million. How did that transform the business, and what stage are you up to now?
Yeah, so we raised $5 million last year to really accelerate our growth. I think mid-COVID pandemic, we realized that there's a huge consumer shift to spending online. Brick and mortar retailers died, and everyone's eyes were on the internet. So we used that money to really aggressively grow into Dubai. So we opened an office there and had boots on the ground. And then we recruited heavily in Manchester as well. So our team here grew by about 30 people, and that was across developers and salespeople. We've actually been very, very fortunate to grow over 100% throughout the pandemic. And that funding essentially was able to help us capitalize that opportunity.
And it's been interesting over the last few weeks as some of those online retailers have reported figures, and the stock market's generally been disappointed with some of those, as if kind of the online retail space has plateaued, or at least taken a breath. How do you see your business growth alongside that marketplace?
Yeah, so as a business, we are transactional. So the more transactions that happen, the better we do. And I think actually the big problem in retail and a lot of the results that have come out have been down to massive returns from an e-commerce perspective. So our consumer spending habits have changed massively. No longer will I order one thing online because I like it. I'll order 5 different things, and probably 4 of those I'll return. So what we're seeing as a payments business is fantastic. We're seeing loads of transactions, loads more volume. But from an e-commerce and a retailer's perspective, they're really struggling at the minute because they're working out how to service, I guess, a new way of shopping, whereby instead of trying on clothes in a shop, I'm ordering 10 items and I'm only taking 20% of them.
So do you win at both ends, at the original payment and the refund, or is it just the original transaction?
Yeah, any part of the payments ecosystem we're working towards. So we make money when someone refunds and we send money back to their bank account. We also make money on the transactional side. So when someone moves their money from their bank account to the merchants.
Okay. And what's next on your to-do list?
So we plan on expanding more into Europe. So we're opening an office in Germany and probably another European location next year. We're also moving more into the Middle East. So we're looking at other markets like Oman and Qatar. I think from a UK perspective, we're going through a regulatory process. So we're trying to become our own acquiring bank. And what that does is it allows us to move higher up the value chain and capitalize more of the revenue that we're transacting.
And what challenges are you facing, or do you expect to face over the next year or two as you continue the growth of your business?
Yeah, so we probably see ourselves doubling, if not tripling in size from a headcount perspective, and that's all a 200 plus person business. And as with these things, maintaining company culture and vision is even more difficult when you're hiring more people and hiring people quickly. So what we need to do and what we're doing is we're putting a lot of money into training people and making sure that people understand the mission that we're striving towards, and that's to be a very customer-centric business and to put them at the heart of our operations. And it's going to be a challenge, but one that we'd like to do.
And what's your long-term, vision for total processing? How big can it get?
So if we look at our competitors, there's a business called Stripe, which I'm sure you've heard of, which is now the most viable private company in the world. They're worth over 100 billion, and that business didn't exist 5 years ago. And so we see a huge opportunity for us. Almost every business takes payments now, and that payments landscape is changing really quickly. We have no intention to sell out. We see such a big opportunity to disrupt, and what we want to do is create a really global business from Manchester.
And what is it about being in Manchester that's particularly attractive?
I think it's talent. We're able to get great people who really want to build something, and that passion is what's going to take us to the next level. We're just proof that you don't need to be in London or a major city to do that. And I mean, we're working with customers all over the world, and we're in the Northwest.
And just to finish off, Cam, what's the one thing that you know now that you wish you'd learned more quickly along the journey?
So that the people that you employ and you work with are the most important thing. It's not one individual; it's a collective effort, and that's from a product perspective, but also a vision perspective. If everybody's pulling in the right direction and the same direction, you're going to achieve things.
Well, it certainly appears that you are achieving great things at the moment. So good luck with that. It seems like you've got an exciting few years ahead.
Thanks so much, Alex.
Right. Thanks, Cameron. The next business we're going to showcase is a company called WeDrifters, which is run by their chief exec, Naudia, Salmon. I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs are bitten by the bug, but Naudia quite literally was when traveling in Southeast Asia, which led to creating anti-insect sleepwear. So, Naudia, welcome, and tell us, was that the sort of the eureka moment that Ajaz was talking about, and what made you do something about it?
Yes, yeah, definitely. So that was definitely my eureka moment. I was traveling, enjoying my time, but getting really badly bitten. And it was especially at night when I'd get bites, allergic reactions, and just hated using a lot of the current insect repellents on the market. So things like sprays, are not great for long-term use, and nets are sometimes not practical. And I just couldn't get my head around why there wasn't something really comfortable that you could wear and keep bugs away. So that really kind of inspired me to look into this problem, whether it was just myself or whether there was a market. And along that journey, we developed our unique bamboo clothing, which is infused with this anti-insect technology that keeps 90% of biting insects away.
How did you make that leap from identifying the problem to that bamboo solution?
Yeah, sure. So it was a lot of research looking at what was in the market, and it was looking at the problem from a few different angles. So obviously keeping bugs away was the kind of key focus, which is where the tech came in and looking at the formulation side. But for me, being comfortable was almost as important, especially if you're traveling and you want to get a good night's sleep, which is obviously key to our well-being and health. So that's really where bamboo felt like it had really great natural properties, especially for travel, and very multifunctional, great for different climates, but it also has the bonus of being more eco-friendly. So for us, it kind of ticked all of the boxes, but it was research, testing, looking at how the whole product could come together and making sure that bamboo really was the right choice.
And how are you going about communicating that message to your potential market? What's the appetite out there?
So I think it's great that people really are looking for better options across all areas of their lives. And I mean, sleep has become really important as part of people's well-being. And within travel, traveling safely has become incredibly important, especially around the pandemic. So really what we're trying to do is kind of merge those two messages around staying protected and keeping bugs away, which are not just a nuisance, but can lead to deadly diseases like malaria. So actually it's vital in certain countries. So we try and create educational content around that, but also the importance of sleep and finding comfortable products to fit that. And one of the things we also focus is on multifunctional things. So things that are long lasting, but can be used for lots of different things. So that's really kind of key to a lot of our communication pillars that we put out. And we do that online, but also when there's opportunities to be at events, it's great just speaking to people in person as well.
And you've come through the Build program, to help your business, develop and grow. How helpful has that been, and what have been the key things that you've learned through that?
It's been incredibly helpful because we're an early stage startup still, and building our network has become absolutely crucial for us to grow and get the right connections to where we need to go. And I think that's really where the Build program helped in terms of signposting, but connecting us to key people within the region through mentors, but also just through understanding how we actually navigate that ecosystem. So it's been really, really helpful for kind of understanding that and getting the connections. And also from the program content, we also had a lot of input on our strategy. So with us, for instance, we're not just in direct to consumer, but also B2B. So how we kind of go about that in the most efficient way. And I think getting that input from the program at this kind of early stage has just been so helpful.
Yeah. And what's next for your business? What does that strategy set out?
So there's a few things. We're doing product development in the background, so hoping to expand the product range. So although we're specialising in sleep, which is where there's a big gap in the market, we do want to go into kind of everyday clothing eventually as well. We're also doing some R&D on new formulations and new ways of infusing the fabric to make it even more long-lasting. And we're also looking to internationalise. So at the moment, we're selling in the UK, but we're now speaking to retailers internationally. So that's really where we see a lot of our growth potential.
Yeah, no, that's a hugely exciting step. What's your vision for the company? What do you want it to become? So
we really want to be at the forefront of empowering people to travel more safely so that they feel comfortable and confident to do that, especially in this world climate. And we see our products as key to giving people peace of mind, but we also donate to help end malaria with every sale. So the long-term vision is really to help towards those goals with the product, but the charitable element as well. And hopefully it's a very smooth journey to success, but what are the current challenges that are occupying your thoughts? I think during the pandemic, it was more challenging, I think, to engage with certain partners that we were prior to the pandemic speaking with. So especially some of the key retailers and businesses within the travel industry. So I think one of our challenges is now, since the pandemic, looking how we navigate that travel space in a kind of appropriate way to be able to continue growing, but also supporting that travel industry. So that's just something we've had to be kind of mindful of and learn during this time. But we're cautiously optimistic that things are going to pick up, and actually we're going to be kind of a key partner with some of these companies.
And is it an advantage that, you know, both the retail sector and the travel sector have had such a difficult time that there will be that appetite for them to find out what's next and to engage?
Yes, I think the companies that are now coming out and I guess coming into this new world are looking for new things. So I think that in a way does level out the playing field a little bit in terms of interest to speak with new companies like ourselves and interest to adopt new technologies and new products. So it definitely has, I think, shifted mindset and created a bit more of an opportunity for us. So we are seeing more of that, and hopefully that will kind of continue.
Yeah, no, very, very much hope that it does. Thanks very much, Naudia, for sharing the WeDrifters story with us. I hope we hear much more of it in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to go on to a very different business now. So I'd like to welcome up Gary Woodhead, who's the founder and chief executive of Curveblock. Hi, Gary.
Hi, Alex.
I suppose the first question, you know, is Curveblock a fintech business operating in the property sector, or a prop tech business utilizing blockchain and cryptocurrency methods? Where do you put it?
Yeah, we in the eyes of the government, we are a fintech. We do kind of prefer to be classed as a prop tech, but ultimately, yeah, the ultimate USP is the financial technology on what we're doing. So we're ultimately a digital fund that uses the financial inclusion to basically deliver and take the spoils from real estate construction.
It's a really interesting, fascinating approach to be a fintech business, but then the outcome and the output to be bricks and mortar. Just tell us a little bit more about, you know, why that's so different and why that's such a positive for your business.
Yeah, sure. So real estate, it's the world's largest asset class. It's a $280 trillion asset class. Over 90% of the public are currently excluded from that asset class. And typically that asset class is the playground of institutional money, high net worths and ultra high net worths. Through digitization, what you have the mechanism to do is digitize all future profits of a business and allow those digital shares to be owned by the public, whether that's £10, £100 or £1,000, and with a grand goal of ultimately making the public the financiers and the beneficiaries of the sector. So you've got financial inclusion for the masses, but because it's digitization of all future profits, that then removes the headache of investment. So they no longer have to do due diligence on financials appraisals, development sites, potentially pick the wrong one. They effectively get a blended portfolio. So we have done a private round whilst we were raising angel investment. 2.9 million digital widgets sold. And the hard data to give an indicator of what this means at a financial inclusion level in construction, the ROI per annum is an average of 30.5%. So if you look at the picture of this, you've got a financial model that's infinitely scalable and you can control that scale through blockchain technology. We're not crypto, we're just using the tech. And then you've got modern method of construction, which is offsite residential construction, which again is infinitely scalable. And then you've got the reality of 90% of the public excluded from this asset class, that the high net worths that we know, who are investors in us, who do this privately themselves, they typically double their capital every 1 to 2 years through construction investment. So because we're a shared economy, so half of the profit we keep so that we can scale and the other half goes to the public, what you're effectively allowing the public to do is replicate what a high net worth does at a proportional level and double their capital hopefully every 2 to 3 years. And the beauty of that, because it's such a high ROI from the private round data that we have, is when they're back in the black in 2 or 3 years, they still own the digital asset. So every time we build and sell more houses, they still get those dividends. It's evergreen. So the big picture is hopefully that the public, the blue collar, white collar public, ultimately become the equity and debt of the sector. And I wouldn't say it's disruption, it's more displacement, because we're not kicking out the high net worth and the institutional that's there. We're just leveling the playing field so that Tracy in Tesco, who's only got £100, is able to play in that same arena. And the assets, which is another one. So it's modern method of construction. These are residential houses built off site. And the USP, which is currently a USP, it probably won't be in 10 years, is the houses are energy efficient. So they produce more renewable energy than they consume, which means it removes fossil fuel requirement for residential dwellings. The prototype at the factory removes 2.3 tonne of CO2 per annum and produces over 10,000 kilowatts per annum. The average house only uses 4,000 kilowatts per annum, so you can get where we're going with this. So that not only does it help the environment, the homeowners, it gives them a revenue stream from renewables. It will hopefully stimulate the adoption of electric vehicles and push the biggest polluter of CO2 into potentially the decarbonizer of the grid.
And in terms of the residential side of the business, where are you up to in terms of sites and spades in the ground and that side of things?
Yeah, so there's several sites, either live or in some form of legals in the pipeline. The original site, which Matt put in Wallington, is just a commercial to residential conversion. So that's not an energy positive house for people looking on the website. Some sites are relatively small. So there's a small site coming through, which is for 9 units, circa 7.3 million GDV. The biggest one is Sittingbourne, which is 273 units. So there's various sizes, and I think what's more interesting now that the prototype's being revealed and the sites are coming through, we're now having conversations with some PLC experts, whether they are specialising in planning gain on land or they actually develop. Because for us, if we can also stimulate those ventures where the bigger players who are established in the market can effectively venture with us, it's a win-win for everyone all around. And ironically, we met one of those PLCs through your conferences.
Oh, it's great to hear. I mean, it sounds like you're at a really positive tipping point. What's your ambition when you think, yeah, if this flies, this could be huge. What does that look like to you?
Yeah, the ultimate ambition is to roll this out globally. It's very easily done, albeit there's headaches involved with it. There's two sides to rolling this out globally. So each jurisdiction has their own regulators and laws. So to roll into the States, obviously we've got the headache with the SEC. And then the other side of the coin is just finding delivery partners in the States, because this is effectively Lego. You have a manufacturing information pack. That house is engineered. The details are there on how it's made, what's used, and delivery partners globally will effectively then tender and bid to deliver. So it becomes infinitely scalable. Obviously, house designs will vary dependent on what jurisdiction they're in. But we've already been approached by the High Commission of Canada to roll out in Canada. I was with the CBI in London last week, speaking to representatives from Jacksonville, Florida. Again, they were all keen to see this rolled out in their state. So where this is going to go, who knows? But financial inclusion of a shared economy, it's never been done before. And, millions upon millions of people want to play in this arena. and energy positive houses that can decarbonize the grid. I mean, it's a win-win for the planet.
No, absolutely. And whether we call it disruption or displacement, it's clearly hugely exciting and hugely scalable. So good luck with your progress with that, Gary. Look forward to following it as the company grows.
Thank you, Alex.
Right, cheers. And we've had 4 fascinating companies there, and we've still got one more to tell you all about. So I'd like to welcome Craig Clement, who's the Chief Operating Officer of G2O Water Technologies. Welcome, Craig.
Hi, Alex. Hi.
So your company does graphene-based coatings that provide efficient and cost-effective solutions to a variety of filtration needs. What does that mean to the non-techie?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, we are developing a whole range of advanced membrane technology. If you look at the membrane industry, it's a huge industry serving lots of needs. It's not really innovated in the last 30 years. And what we've done is taken a look at how we can, help create the next technology that can really reduce the cost and environmental impact of water filtration. So our first generation of technology is all about taking existing membranes and applying this graphene oxide nano coating to the surface of the membrane to change the surface chemistry of that membrane to improve its performance. And that might be to improve its fouling resistance, which is a real problem in most membrane applications, or it might be to improve the selectivity, so to particularly tune what you are moving through that membrane. We're then moving that into a second generation of technology where we're really sort of taking we're bringing engineering into the game now, and we're looking really to leverage the benefits of additive manufacturing, computational fluid dynamics, and artificial intelligence. So here we're looking to essentially 3D print precision engineered membranes that are fit for purpose. So really the first generation, let's make the existing technology better. Let's get out there and enhance what we've got. Let's then evolve our technology so that we're 3D printing precision engineered membranes, to drive the next step change in performance of membranes.
That feels like the bringing together of several disruptions to create something special. What's the opportunity? What's the potential of the market for you, do you think?
I mean, it's huge. I mean, the water industry is enormous, and obviously it's key to life. And I think water will become a bigger problem for the world as we go forward. And I think people also underestimate the amount of energy that is consumed in providing people with clean water. I think there's a statistic in California that 25% of the energy consumption in California is actually moving the water around the state. So actually, if you can create technology that promotes water reuse, water recycling, then clearly you can have a big impact on carbon emissions as well. And
where is the company up to in its own growth journey, and what's next?
Yeah, we're located in the northwest of England at the Daresbury SciTech Park, which is a great ecosystem of sort of like-minded tech companies, and we've grown the business now to around about 20 people, and we have huge amount. We're an R&D business essentially at the moment, really trying to. We've got a good number of strategic partnerships with global companies, where they're helping us, take our technology to market. But yeah, we're looking to raise further money next year. We've had a number of funding rounds in the business to date. We're looking at a bigger funding round next year, that's around about sort of 7 to 10 million we're looking for next year to really, really get this technology to market and really invest in particularly in this additive manufacturing technology, which we think will be a real game changer.
And hopefully that all goes smoothly and successfully. And then what's the big goal? What do you dream of?
Yeah, I mean, I guess we're I guess trying to leave a legacy here of doing our bit to improve the environmental impact of water filtration, creating water abundance, which is key going forward. There's we want to build a strong business with a technology that ultimately, I'm sure in years to come that the technology will end up in somebody's hands who can really globalize it. We'll take it as far as we can, but ultimately, I'm sure a big partner will want to take this forward globally.
It sounds like a great opportunity, and it's great that it's coming out of Cheshire. That it feels like hopefully you're in the right place to really make it happen.
Yeah, we've got a great team. We've got a great culture. We're able to attract the right people, and we've got some great momentum in the business. It's a great journey.
Well, hopefully it will carry on for a good while longer. Thank you very much for sharing that with us, Craig, and look forward to following that journey with you.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Craig. Well, Ajaz kicked it off brilliantly at the start of the session, talking about being pioneer, being bold, and fundamentally getting things done. And we've just heard from 5 great entrepreneurs who are in their own sectors and in their own ways getting things done. And I think there's a good chance that every one of them we'll hear much more of in the next few years as their businesses grow and develop, and hopefully make a real impact in their sectors. Thank you for joining us in this session. Thank you to Quba and Nexus at the University of Leeds for their support with this session. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the day here at Disruptors North. Thank you.